it feels like while you're considering whether or not to buy a watch, be it a JLC or a Vacheron or whatever, while I'm considering it, the prices are going up.
While you're sitting in the chair to buy a watch, they keep handing you notes being like, it's actually
more money.
Yeah, it's $28,000 now.
Like,
I'm sorry, it's $30,000.
What the f*** is that?
It is astronomically fast.
Ugh. What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Vintage Watch Shop.
My name is Michael.
Yeah, like we said in the intro, like we're used to fluctuation and volatility.
And you expect a little price raise every now and again, every other year or something like that from watch brands.
On the secondary market, we see prices skyrocket, but like that's all part of it, right? Like it's a secondary market, shit goes crazy, whatever, prices plummet too. But MSRP, like you said, like going into a boutique and getting quoted what something costs, like it's kind of crazy how much prices have gone up in these boutiques. And the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm realizing like it's actually everywhere. We'll talk about watches, but even in shoes, like my first pair of Gucci loafers I ever bought, I think I paid $515. I believe the same shoes are over $700 now.
Really?
I mean, that's a significant price increase, right? That is a 40% price increase. Like that is insane.
Yeah.
And speaking of 40% price increases, we're seeing that with JLC as well. So let's set the baseline. What is a normal price increase? What do we come to expect out of the watch industry?
5 to 7 every other year.
Is it that much? I thought it was 4. So let's say 4 to 7 every other year?
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
It relates to 2.5 every year.
Exactly. Okay, fine. I can understand prices need to change, right? Like everything changes, right? Like, everything changes. Fine. Yeah. But we kind of accept those fairly modest price increases, right? Yeah. They don't seem to be gouging, and it seems to be keeping up with the time every so often.
Right. And just to interrupt you really quick, I noticed, or I've been thinking about this for a while, because a lot of clothing brands that I like, they will just suddenly raise the price by a lot, which we'll get into those high raises in a second. But what do you think is better? A yearly increase, or we didn't increase the price for 5 years and then you just got a 5-year increase on it?
I just don't believe in that. If you didn't increase the price for those years, then you didn't. I understand you need to catch up a little bit,
sure,
but I don't think that you can hit me with 5 years of price increases at once.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That just seems silly. I mean, I guess the counterpoint would be, well, over that 5 years you got to buy it underpriced. Okay, fine. I kind of get what you mean, but I don't know. Like when it comes to watches, generally speaking, people aren't like hoarding JLCs while they're underpriced.
Right.
You buy one or you consider it. It's a long journey. I mean, I don't know. I just, again, price increases are fine. I just feel like, and we'll get into the specific price increases, I just feel like it's getting to the point where you really feel like the brand is really coming for your wallet pretty heavy.
All of a sudden you start to feel like, okay, you lost all, and I'm not speaking for a brand, I'm saying what it feels like. You lost all pride in your craft, and it was like, hey, I can get these guys for 45% higher.
JLC is the first brand we're talking about here, and they're going up. Some of these models have gone up over 40%. It's astronomical.
40%.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Like in the Reverso catalog, you're seeing over 40% price increases. That's insane.
Yeah,
it's truly insane.
I was looking at Reversos not too long ago. I'm gonna look at the prices now as we chat and just see if I notice, because I had numbers in my head, but I wasn't in the market yet. But I was still like, maybe like I'll add one of those to the collection. Yeah, Reverso Tribute Monoface Small Seconds, $10,000.
It's $11,000, and you're paying tax and everything.
Yeah, $11,000. Yeah, Reverso Classic Monoface, $8,100.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
$10,000. These prices, it's not that long ago that I was in the market for these at drastically lower prices. I don't want to, just in case I forget, but I think I was looking at like 6.5, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
I was like, that's kind of a steal. Like,
that's the thing. Like, your JLC has represented value for so long. I don't think that they were grossly underpriced, but I think that they seem to be kind of humble and prideful. They seem to be humble about their position, but very prideful in their watchmaking. So that was kind of a nice part about JLC. It was kind of a nice, kind of a personality about them, right? They make really great watches and we're not gouging you.
Yeah, it was one of those things when I was looking at these last, I was kind of, it wasn't disbelief because it wasn't that low. 4,000 I'd be in disbelief. 5,000 I'd be disbelief. But it was the price, a price point where I was like, oh yeah, this is an easy buy for me. This is something that if I want it, I get it. And I go new. I go to the JLC boutique because this is great. This is a great price.
Yeah, and you're seeing it in other spaces too, right? Like you're seeing the IWC Ingenieur, although it didn't exist and now they introduced it, but the price that they introduced, it's different, but it's still like, wow, that's a really high price what you introduced it at. Like you were really coming for the wallet, right? Yeah. $11,700 for an Ingenieur. I mean, that's for a steel model. That's a lot of money. You know, that's a lot of money for a watch that, again, I mean, there's nothing particularly in-house about or original about that watch.
Yeah,
there's just not. I mean, the movement is a caliber that's used by Richemont in general. I mean, you find the same caliber in Bauer Mercier. I mean, you're not talking about it, in my view, $12,000 watch.
And interestingly, I also think coming out of the gate at that price is even more aggressive because JLC, again, love JLC, but they released their tribute chronograph. And before it even got released, raised the price.
Well, it got released at a certain price, and before it actually hit the stores, the price went up. I mean, that's crazy.
And people were already on the list.
People were on the list. They're not going to honor that price. They're just not. Yeah, you know, I have a buddy that bought a Vacheron 222, and he bought it, I think, after one increase, but right before another. Like there were rapid increases in prices. You know,
you said a lot of increases.
Several $1,000s. Yeah. Like it's not like they were hitting you for $500. Like the prices went up. I think it was $5,000 on the second run.
Wow.
I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money to just raise the price. I mean,
it's almost like these watch brands are like, well, this is a popular model. We got to rip this price up because people are going to come in anyway.
And that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Like it's not so much a science of pricing in that it's, you know, well, what's the value of this? This is the one that they really want, so let's rip them on this one, and the rest of them, you know, whatever, you know, maybe we'll discount or whatever. But when they've got the opportunity to rip you, they're really getting you good.
Yeah,
you know, and it's funny because I guess a lot of these watch brands feel like, you know, we're only going to have one that we can really hit you over the head for.
We have our flagship.
A brand like Patek, a brand like Audemars, at least the Royal Oak, you know, they know that pretty much every model they put out's a hit.
Yeah.
You know, pretty much every SKU is a hit.
You're right.
Whereas with Vacheron, you know, they're doing well, I suppose, but their 222 is a huge success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've heard that even like in Bulgari, I don't believe there's been large price increases, but, you know, look at Bulgari. I mean, they're hitting more regularly, you know, on models right now than a lot of these other brands. You know what I mean? Like producing really solid, you know, kind of catalog, you know, throughout, which is a whole art in itself. Not just producing a cool watch, but producing a really high quality catalog.
Brand at that point.
That's different. Yeah. But no, these price increases are insane.
Do you think it has any? And I bet it does. But like, you look at a watch on the aftermarket, and these brands are like, okay, so you'll buy this watch for $25,000 and it retails for $10,000. So why aren't we pricing it at $20,000?
100%. You know, and you know, the interesting thing is, okay, so they're raising their prices now. They're going boutique only in a lot of these instances, right? Boutique only, right? You can only go into a boutique, an IWC boutique, not a jewelry store, to get an Ingenieur. Same thing with the reversal chronograph. Yeah. You just can't get these watches in many jewelry stores, even if the jewelry stores carry those brands. So the question is like, are they getting a little bit greedy right now, right before their fall? Because I do think there will be a massive correction.
You think there'll be a blood in the streets moment?
100%. I think these brands are getting a little bit greedy. I think they're getting a little bit, you know, too big for their britches. And I do think there will be a consolidation and a bit of a crash. It's insane to see what's happened in the watch industry with pricing. Obviously in the retail market, but also on the secondary market, prices have just gone, you know, sky high. And we've seen it at auctions as well. I mean, you know, it's actually getting quite difficult to keep up with the rising prices in all of these spaces. And there are obviously opportunities to kind of jump in before, you know, you're getting these massive kind of price hikes.
Yeah, make an investment, really.
Making an investment, exactly, which brings us into our sponsor, Masterworks. For today's episode, Masterworks is not in the watch space, or not in the wristwatch space. They're taking advantage of the opportunities in the art space, the really collectible art space. Think the art equivalent of the most collectible watches of all time, the Patek Philippe Grand Complications, the Rolex, you know, Daytonas by Paul Newman, like the craziest stuff you could possibly find. That's the equivalent in the art world, right? Yeah. Picasso, Banksy, Monet, right? All these wild, you know, historical artists. Because the market has been so strong that Masterworks has come in and said, we can actually democratize the investing, get more people in on this market, and make them benefit from the strength of it.
So it's easy to see after selling $45 million in art why 750,000 people have signed up already. And there's so many people that signed up, they actually have a waiting list.
They do, yeah. But it's just wild looking back on the last, I guess, decade or two to see what's happened in this industry, in the art industry. The art auction scene is the only place to actually realize the value of the piece, right? As good an investment may be, if you're not owning a caliber like that and putting them at auction, you'll never actually benefit, right? Truly. So it's so important to have a shepherd, right? So important to have an expert like Masterworks that can invest in the right pieces and then bring them ultimately to the proper end buyer so that you can, there's enough delta where everyone's, returning some handsome profits.
Yeah, and like I said, over 750,000 people have signed up, so there is a wait list, but you can skip that wait list by going to the link in our description to sign up for Masterworks right now.
A lot of these brands manufacture too many watches people don't want. Right. That's the reality of it, right? And a lot of these watches are cash cows for them because they force the jewelry stores to buy them, right? It's kind of there's an extortionate,
you want this watch allocated. Okay, great. You have to buy 20 of this not popular
exactly.
watch. Thank you. Great.
So it gets kind of dirty, but the reality is what if you just kind of pared down your collection, stopped forcing jewelers to buy watches that they know they don't want to buy. Reallocate the resources to producing more of the watches that people do want, and you don't need to gouge them. You're going to make it up in volume. I mean, and you don't need to double the amount of watches that are being sold of a particular model. But if you take the models that people like and increase production by 20%, it's not gonna. I don't believe it would have a negative impact on the image of the watch. I don't think people will start saying, "Oh, I see that too often." If you see 15% more of them, but that means a lot so far as the bottom line of the business, or to the bottom line of the business.
Especially if people are buying stuff and people aren't buying something, it's like no, you can JLC. They are and can continue to be led by the Reverso. Right. They can have a few other banging models in the back or on the sides that hopefully come up to that level.
Yes.
And they'll eventually get there with those, but we're now seeing AP, for example. It's you can really just rip one watch for a while. You should try and expand, but that doesn't mean you have to force expansion if something's not catching. Right.
But, and JLC's done well. I mean, their master collection is very nice, and JLC's a great watch manufacturer. I love them. I mean, the only thing I don't love about JLC is, even their Polaris collection's great, is I just generally, as we know, stay away from steel watches. Yeah. So for me, a lot of the JLCs that I like are steel, so it's, not as attractive. Yeah. But I'm really, the truth is I'm not really a retail buyer. I'm more of a find a precious metal model that has taken a hit of depreciation and get it at $17,000 as opposed to the $27,000 retail. That's me. That's me in a nutshell so far as watch collecting. But because it's too much money at retail, But yeah, these price increases are wild. It's too much. I think the JLC should have been more chill. And frankly, I think that the reality is that the Reverso, as great of a watch as it is, it's a great watch. Yeah. The secondary market is flooded with them. There's a ton.
They depreciate.
And I think it takes a special kind of buyer to want a Reverso.
The Reverso,
it's a formal watch.
The Reverso Classic Monophase in pink gold is almost $20,000.
Yeah.
That is it's a small watch. That's crazy. Even crazier, the Reverso Classic Monophase small seconds is in steel is over $10,000. Yeah. That comes to a point where I feel like you're starting to murder your brand, especially because the reputation that they're starting to get is, wow, those are some big price hikes. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. But then listen. It's owned by Richemont, right? And Richemont Richemont's in the business of making money, right? To put it nicely, So and that makes sense. I have no problem with that. Obviously, God, but I don't love the Reverso at $11,000. No, I don't. When I was seeing it for 6 and 7,
I even like it at 9.
Yeah,
I even like it.
Maybe that's when I was like, maybe I was just four figures that was freaking me out.
But I don't love it
at 6 and 7.
No, I think you're right. I think I remember them in the 6s.
Okay.
7s, yeah.
It just doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't even feel real. It feels like a fucking memory. It feels like a distant memory. So yeah, I don't think that you'll see a lot of success. I think that you'll see these watches heavily discounted.
And you think as a whole, you will see a slash and come out
But
with
that's
it.
interesting, right? Like, think about that. So I wonder what the average sale price will be of a Reverso compared to the average sale price of a Reverso before the hikes.
That's what I actually read. Like, it was an example with Omega, but Omega raised their price like 10%, so then you can get 10% off at a AD.
Are ADs really discounting a lot of Omegas now? I mean, I don't know. Like, I think that the watch industry had a large problem with discounts for years, for decades, right?
Yeah.
So I think that coming out of COVID, or COVID rather, was an opportunity to kind of get rid of that, right? Yeah, you could increase prices a little bit, but what you really got was there's no more negotiation. By virtue of there no longer being negotiation in watch purchasing, the prices went up 15%, 10%. You understand that?
Even before they hiked the price.
Before they hiked price.
Oh.
So that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, of course.
For the brands. And I have no problem. I think that's great.
Can I get a discount? No. Yeah.
I don't really want to negotiate, watches. I want to, if I'm going to have a luxury experience in a boutique, I don't want to say.
The last luxury thing is being like, what can you do for me?
Yeah, I would much rather the authorized dealer say, let's say build in maybe 5% of the price and treat you well.
Yeah.
Right? Be it in I know it sounds stupid, but the traditional thing was always a bottle of champagne, or maybe it's sending you champagne for your birthday. Maybe it's, with a little JLC card.
It's something silly, but you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
I don't want, I don't want a discount.
Yeah.
Keep the discount, but give it back to me in customer service.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, I think that it's wrong. I think it's all f***ed up. Straps, as many of you should know, bring a whole world of potential to mix up your watch collection. They breathe new life into watches. They help you pull out different colors. They give them new personality. Straps can be very addictive. I know people with 2 watches and 10 straps because it adds so many facets to a collection in a fairly easy and fun way. So that's why they become such a part of the Theo and Harris culture and identity. I think we sell more exotic straps than almost anybody because I just love them so much and I love sharing them with you.
Final note for you. The big discussion with prices really always kind of ends up pointing at Tudor came on the scene with these prices, and all of a sudden Omega started to be compared with Tudor, so you can't do that. So Omega, some people theorize, push things up a little bit just to be like, no, we're not being compared to Tudor, we're being compared to Rolex. This is how it has to be. But do you notice now there is a very, very, Hamilton is a bad example because it's a much different market, but there is a very big delta now between brands like JLC and then if you go to Longines, for example, Longines dress line, which has a similar case shape, which you could find, but now it's not like 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. It's like 1 step, 5 step, 6 step, 7
Totally.
step.
So basically, this is an opportunity for smaller brands like Longines
to go insane.
For sure.
Longines is a small brand. They're $1 billion brand, but
I meant smaller in price point. But you're exactly right. You're 100% right. I didn't even think of it like that. Yes, a price hike like this is a great opportunity for a brand like Longines or a whole host of brands, but a brand like Longines specifically to say, hey guys, like we were always great. We always deserve your attention. And now the brand that you may have saved up a little bit more for, they're giving you a big middle finger.
They're ripping you off, yeah.
They're ripping you off.
I mean, we do it, and we'll end here, but we do it all the time now where some brands, Tudor is the one that sticks out, but they drop, or Longines, we'll do the Longines. The Zulu Time in 39 millimeters is like $3,000.
Yeah.
And you see that price and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And it's because everybody that you kind of like saw a stepladder to went way up.
It almost seems like a relic of a gone era.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And it seems like just a ridiculous steal.
$3,000 for a watch? When?
Yeah, exactly.
For a luxury watch,
I could get that watch for $3,000, and the Reverso that I wanted at $6,000 is now $10,000.
It's wild.
I can't get that. I can get 3 Longines.
Can't even get it. Exactly. Yeah, it's totally wild. I completely agree. I think this was a mistake. I do, and I do think these watches will be discounted. 100%. 100%. I think that this was done. I think that the price increase, the chronograph is great. This whole thing was done with a little bit of a lack of finesse.
Yes.
There's a lack of finesse.
Definitely.
And that's it.
I agree.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Subscribe to our channel for more watch content and go over to our Patreon, The Zero, and join our community for extra content every week and industry insights. Start your 7-day free trial, and when you sign up for The Zero, you get a $100 credit to the Theo and Harris Leather Shop.
Pays for itself.
Pays for itself, really. You get a free strap, basically. And that's it. All right. Talk soon.